Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy to introduce today my guest, Slawomir Majman, who is the deputy head of Institute for Security, which is located in Warsaw, in Poland. Mr. Majman, I'm happy to see you. Good afternoon.
Good day. Good to see you, Mikhail.
Okay, so we continue to talk about Iranian cause. And I would like to draw your attention on the article which was published recently in Foreign Affairs, which is titled The New Khamenei, How America and Israel Solved Iranian's Succession Problem. So where author Akbar Ganji, a prominent scholar in the field of Iranian studies, he argues that the Israel and the United States targeted assassination of Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei and subsequent strikes on a gathering of Islamic Republic's Assembly of Experts turned long-lasting deliberations over who should succeed Khamenei into the opaque emergency process. And basically the choice of Khamenei's son was a result of activities performed by the United States and Israel. Definitely we have a case of protracted war. Iran today published its conditions for the peace settlement with the United States. Basically, United States had to pay reparations to Iran, also provide the security guarantees to avoid the future attack, which definitely United States won't stand for. So the United States has its own set of demands from Iran, and definitely we see that the game for regime change in Iran failed, and the installation of the son of Khamenei is a proof of that. So how you assess the current situation in Iran, and how actually European Union overall assess what is going on in Iran?
Well, thank you for the question. Paradoxically, the election of a new spiritual leader could be the excuse for America to get out from the trap. I'm talking about the trap because something which at the beginning seemed as a couple days war to aim at destroying some nuclear facilities or any type of defense facilities of Iran looks like another long-term war, a bit similar to Afghanistan or Vietnam or expedition to Iraq. Anyway, it's one more time we discovered it's much easier to start the war than to finish the war. And the decision when to finish the war sounds to be very flexible. One day President Trump says that, okay, all our objectives have been met and we can finish in a couple of weeks. Then he says it would be it could be a long-term operation, and what we can expect from Iran is just an unconditional surrender. And the appearance of the new leader could be, if Trump wants to get out from the trap, a good excuse to say, okay, there's new leadership, we can talk to the new leadership, we can finish the war. But so far, America is unwilling to finish the war. A couple of days ago, Oman offered his intermediary services again, and was bluntly rejected by the US president. The situation is even more complicated, because in case of Israel, we know what Israel wanted. And the greatest lifetime success of PM Netanyahu is that he convinced Americans to join them in the operation against Iran. It's crystal clear with Israel. But it's very difficult to establish what actually America wanted in Iran. after tremendous success of the last year, 12 days war, when actually the nuclear potential of Iran was destroyed, which was several times confirmed by Donald Trump, they started again. If you don't, there are many explanations that America invented a very special recipe how to restore democracy in Iran, bombing Iran. Yeah, but it didn't work. There's no organized opposition in Iran at the moment, and these people who demonstrated on the streets of Tehran and other Iranian cities 2 months ago are now consolidated after the attacks of Israelis and Americans. And definitely the objective of Donald Trump is not restoring democracy. It looks like that the only semi-logical objective of Americans is to destroy Iran. As we may see in the recent days, Americans and Israeli are attacking not only military targets at the moment, but they're attacking various governmental buildings and electrical and water infrastructure. It continues on and on. And I'm afraid the CIA and Mossad didn't make the job properly, because starting the war, they haven't prepared anybody who could say, okay, we want to talk to Americans, we represent the Iranian society, we are against non-democratic, ruthless Ayatollah regime. There are nobody like that. The American Reza Pahlavi got virtually no support at home. Anyway, it really seems to me as a trap for Americans, not for Israel, but particularly for Americans. And moreover, I would never suspect that Iran will gain a sympathy of more and more people in Europe, because we tend to forget what type of regime is in Iran, but we tend to treat Iran as a victim. And I think the most important in all the stories, we entered the completely new era of international relations, where all peace treaties, all international law, all documents, United Nations are of no use. The completely unnecessary profession now is international lawyer, because what happened is a restoration of cult of power. You are stronger, you can do whatever you like with other countries.
We'll come back in a minute to a situation in Iran, but due to your experience in China, you visited on different occasions China, you have many familiar scholars, colleagues of yours there, you understand China very well. That's why I would like to stress some points regarding China. So many watchers now foresee that in the foreseeable future, China will gain certain benefits from this conflict due to the fact that the Gulf states, Middle East states, after the war is over, they will think twice. Do they want to remain in the United States domain, attracting aggression from Iran, aggressive steps from Iran, or they would like to fall under the scope of China's influence. So do you see China as a, let's say, beneficiary of this conflict?
I'm not quite sure about it. Let me make just 2 points. For a couple of years already, China demonstrates particular assertiveness as far as the Middle East is concerned. Numerous trade missions, numerous state visits to Saudi Arabia, to the Gulf. Chinese offered to cover those countries with the enormous programs of China. which we actually don't know in Europe. China's Civilization Initiative. They are not just offering those countries infrastructures like it used to be in the few years ago, like airports or highways, and they are offering Arabian countries AI, green technology, the high tech. And this cooperation started already 2-3 years ago. And what's happening now, it's my second point, is a not operation against Iran. It's not operation against Russian interests in Iran. It's a part of the operation of the United States against China. In this case, Iran is a proxy. That's why so far China is suffering as a result of this conflict. 2 countries, or rather 3 countries, are the most dependent upon the supplies of oil and gas via Hormuz: India, Pakistan, and of course China. And for China is a serious blow on its economic interest. I can't see too many gains in it. Few days ago, the Chinese quasi-parliament approved the development of China with a 4.7 GDP growth, which is very low for China. The situation in Iran can even reduce this forecast of GDP for the next 5 years in the 15th plan of development.
Let's come back to Iran. So we certainly see 2 types of operation. First, decapitation operation, and secondly, definitely the regime change operation. So the first operation, the decapitation operation, actually succeeded because the United States got rid of maybe 70 officials, military, political officials, executive officials, governmental officials in Iran, but it did not lead to the regime change. And both of it, regime change operation and the decapitation, they certainly violates international law, and definitely now both parties, Israel and the United States, explain this as a forcible act, which actually Iran provoked due to its aggression towards Israel and due to different attacks and proxies which Iran used to threaten Israel. And that's why Iran went beyond international law, and international law is not applicable to Iran. So certainly decapitation procedure can be applied. So this is a very fearful logic if we look ahead and try to preserve something which actually still exists after international law was several times breached by Russia and some other states. So what do you foresee will happen with international law in the situation when, let's say, the decapitation and regime change operations become, let's say, quite acceptable by the major powers in the world?
Let me emphasize once again, what happened is the end of international law. The United States and Israel, according to international law, could attack Iran under 2 conditions. The resolution of the Security Council of the United Nations never happened, and immediate and direct threat of aggression, not proved by White House. Anyway, the all attack on Iran was a violation of all norms of international law. Secondly, elimination or killings of the leaders of Islamic Republic has been conducted by, first of all, by Israel. Israeli intelligence chased these people. Israeli rockets killed these people. And frankly speaking, I wouldn't like to be a citizen of Israel for future when the time for vengeance will come. The third, if Americans and Israeli hope that eliminating or killing the leadership of Iran, spiritual leadership, military leadership, will convince Iranians to give up, it was a dramatic mistake. The Iranian regime is turned out to be deeply rooted. Even if the army is destroyed, there are a couple hundred thousands of militiamen, the same militiamen which suppressed demonstrations of those citizens who were 2 months ago were not happy with the regime and went to the streets. Anyway, it's not just a bunch of demoralized and super conservative leaders of Iran. It seems that maybe because of the aggression, maybe because of those attacks, the national support for government in Iran is widely spread. And one more point, Iran is not Venezuela. Iran is a nation with a few thousand years history, with a very strong nationalism and very long tradition of opposing imperialism, starting from the early 50s and Prime Minister Mossadegh time, which was overthrown by the coup organized by the West. The consolidation of the Iranian nation, I'm afraid, is the result of the American efforts and American-Israeli elimination of the country's leadership.
Last question, just to clarify how we managed to get in this situation. So if we come back to the situation which existed 2 years before during the presidential election campaign in the United States, we remember that President Trump, he promoted the idea of America First policy, and now we see that many people who actually supported Trump and they started actually to stand against his policy in Iran, saying that this policy was masterminded not in Washington but in Israel, and Prime Minister Netanyahu is actually the one who is in charge of this politics, and he's sitting in the driver's seat. And it's actually a very interesting question, how and why actually President Trump decided to abandon his election promises, his election provisions, and decided to actually follow the line of hardline policy of Prime Minister Netanyahu regarding Iran. You remember as well as audience that President Trump actually destroyed USAID and some other organizations due to the fact that he suggested that the United States doesn't need this regime change operations, and the United States don't need the involvement in domestic politics of different states. So eventually, after 1 year since President Trump in office, we see that President Trump pursues pretty much the same goal as presidents who were in White House before him. So why do you think President Trump decided to take Mr. Netanyahu's road regarding Iran and actually by abandoning his political promises?
Well, actually, what President Trump is doing here in Iran is against his philosophy and the philosophy of the movement he is in charge. He promised Americans that America will concentrate on the American issues and will focus on the so-called American neighborhood. And then what's happening now, he got involved into hopeless war in the middle of nowhere. To a certain extent, what happened to Donald Trump resembles what happened with the Russian Tsar Nicholas II at the beginning of the 20th century, where he needed some sort of success story and involved Russia into hopeless war with Japan. Probably before the election, before the midterm election, Trump was dreaming about his success story. Nice, tiny, short war. And maybe it was one of the reasons he started the campaign.
So you mean he wanted to boost his support by let's say providing successful campaign?
Yes, for internal political reasons. Mm-hmm. This is one of the possibilities. Of course, I'm not a psychologist, and in case of Trump, you need psychologists. But let me, at the end of our conversation, come back to our European issues. What's happening now in the Middle East is bad news for Europe. And it's bad news to your country, to Ukraine, because it demonstrates clearly what are the priorities of America. And Europe is definitely not a priority for America. It's one more confirmation that Europe is not important for Americans. And Europe was even not consulted before all this Iranian war started. And even worse, Americans were not consulted about it. Neither Congress nor American nation. And this is the reason I'm starting, as many other Europeans begin to be scared of America.
Well, then, Mr. Majman, at the end of our conversation, I would ask you the following question. So we see that President Trump, he likes unilateral politics, and actually he prefers unilateral politics against institutional politics. So he ignores institutions, he doesn't like institutions, he likes to adopt decisions bearing in mind that people voted for him, so he definitely thinks that he has power which goes beyond, let's say, constitutional constraints. So this type of unilateralists against institutionalists, do you see that this is a really great threat for the Western community when people like President Trump, who prefer unilateral politics, actually will acquire power in different countries and try to impose their own agenda on us?
There's no reason to prove how President Trump treats United Nations. There's no reason to prove how Trump treats European Union, one of the most powerful organizations in the history. Why then he should treat more seriously American Congress? The nature of the new American government is to ignore everything which is against interests of White House, as White House at a certain moment understands this interest. And I'm afraid it's not just the story of Donald Trump. A lot of people in Europe says, okay, let's wait this couple of years and Trump will go and America will be normal again. And America will be not normal again. I mean, America will not be after 1991, after the collapse of the Soviet Union. Because the change of the political rift in America is much deeper. And any successor of Donald Trump will follow more or less, maybe more predictable, but similar political line, with American exceptionalism resurrected, with American isolationism resurrected, and this enormous hatred to Europe, which is demonstrated by President and Vice President at the moment.
Mr. Majman, thank you very much for your contribution to this long-lasting discussion. I just want to remind for viewers that definitely please subscribe to YouTube channel, because in the following days you will see more interesting videos, more interesting interview with top experts from Europe, from United States, from UK. So please subscribe to the channel and leave your comment under this video, so we will know your position regarding the matter. Thank you, Mr. Majman, and see you next time.
Thank you, Michael. Good night.